Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Education Station with the Blank Park Zoo. My name is Jared, and today I have with me Matt. Matt is one of our education animal care specialists. He also hosts birthday parties here at the zoo. And today, we've got a special guest with us. She's one of my favorites. This is Marcy, and Marcy is a blue-tongued skink. Now, blue-tongued skinks are one of my favorite lizards because of how different of lizards they are. When we think about lizards, we think about the lizards that are really fast and they're great climbers and they can do all these kind of crazy things we think about with lizards. But if we look at Marcy, she's not really any of those things. She's a little bigger than those small, fast lizards. You can see how fast she goes. She's got little tiny legs. She's not climbing anything. So she's not great at being that lizard we think of, but she's great at so many other things. And the thing she's best at is surviving. Any animal in the wild has to be able to survive, and if she's not fast, she has to be smart, she has to be tricky. And she's got three big ways to do that. The first one is her looks. She hides pretty well. She lives in the leaves, in the dirt, so she can hide pretty well just by kind of blending in with her surroundings. But she also looks a little kind of like a snake. And in Australia, where she's from, she looks like a very venomous snake that animals know not to mess with. So if you're a bird flying above and you look down and you see what looks like a snake that you don't like, you're not going to bother it. She's not a problem. She's not venomous. She's not poisonous. She's not dangerous. She hardly even has teeth to bite. But she's good enough at tricking things. And the even trickier part is her tongue. Now, I said that she is a blue-tongued skink, and I'm not lying. If you keep your eyes on it, you'll probably see her stick her tongue out. It is blue, and that blue is something that helps keep her safe too, because animals in the wild don't want to eat blue things just like we don't want to eat blue things. If you give me a pizza that's just blue, that's not the color pizza's supposed to be, and I'm not going to eat it because I'll get sick. Now, if an animal eats a blue frog in the wild, lots of the time they do get sick. If we think about poison dart frogs that are bright red, bright yellow, bright green, bright blue, all those bright colors, animals know that those are dangerous. They know that those things are warnings. They know that they can be poisonous. And so when they see our skink stick her tongue out, they say, I don't know, last time I ate blue food, I got really sick. I don't think I want to eat blue things anymore. But she's not poisonous, she's not venomous, she's not dangerous. It's all just tricks to keep her safe. And she does a very, very, very good job of staying safe. But if she gets into trouble with no other option, she's got one last resort trick up her sleeve to keep herself safe. And that's her tail. So if she gets chased by something and she can't get away from it, she can't trick it, it's just too hungry, she can send a message from her brain to the muscles down in her tail, and she can actually have her tail just fall off. And if her tail just falls off, it's going to sit there wiggling around, and that animal chasing her, be it a kookaburra or some other bird of prey, some other wild cat or wild dog, they're going to eat the part of her that's not running away. And so they'll eat the tail. Our skink will just kind of slink off into the leaves, into the dirt, and she just sits there, eats a bunch of food, gets that energy back up, and she can actually grow her tail back, which is crazy. It's something people can't do, but scientists are watching and researching and looking at, because if humans could do that, it'd be really helpful. And a lot of those medical advances we get from studying some of the crazy wild things animals do. So she can grow her tail back. Marcy has never lost her tail. We can tell because if we look at her, she looks pretty good. It's taken her about 6 years to grow this tail. She's about 6 years old. And so if she had to grow a new one in a couple months, it wouldn't look quite the same. Just like my arm looks nothing like the arm of someone who's been alive for months. So my arm is a lot different than a baby's arm, and her tail would look a lot different if she had to grow it back. So she's got a lot of really kind of crazy features, and I'll dive into some of those a little bit later. Right now I'm going to turn to Matt and see if we have any questions. Feel free to ask questions on our feed. We'll do our best to answer any of them, and a lot of them we don't get to. I'll try to answer afterwards. But Matt, have we got any questions rolling in yet?
Yeah, Jared, we have a question. So how do you tell the difference between a snake and a lizard?
So there's some easy ways, but it's not always so cut and dry. The first one that we think about is legs. So all snakes don't have legs, but there are lizards that don't have legs. They're actually called legless lizards, and you can tell they're lizards by a couple different kind of methods. For one, They have ears. If we look really, really closely at Marcy here, we can see she does have little tiny ear holes. Snakes don't have ears, but they still can kind of hear and feel some of those vibrations of the sound. So lizards have ear holes. They also have eyelids. You don't really see snakes blink. They've got scales that cover their eyes and keep their eyes safe. A lot of lizards can blink. They do have eyelids. So there's a lot of those kind of differences. The easiest one is legs. The odds that you ever run into a legless lizard, especially in Iowa, are slim to none, but they are out there and they are kind of tricky, but you can usually look at the ear holes for the easiest kind of description to tell them apart.
Colleen wants to know, what does she like to eat?
So her eating is one of the coolest things about her. So she eats a little bit of everything. She eats meats, fruits, veggies, bugs, lots of those kinds of things. But in the wild, she lives in the jungle on the floor of the forests in Australia. And the reason that it's so cool, you know, lots of things eat meat and vegetables and fruits. But she only really kind of likes the dead stuff. So when the leaves all fall out of the trees and the fruits all fall out of the trees and get rotten and squishy and, you know, maybe a baby bird falls out of the nest and all those things that cover the forest floor can kind of suffocate the forest floor. Those new plants need sunlight and they need water to grow. And if there's a big layer of leaves covering that, they can't grow and it kind of kills off the forest. So that's why having animals like our blue-tongued skinks, worms, millipedes, lots of different bugs, all those things that eat those kind of gross, rotting foods, do a really good job of keeping everything alive, because if they don't do it, the forest can kind of die. So she kind of acts as like a super janitor for the forest and keeps everything clean so the forest can kind of stay healthy.
Got another question from Sergio. Why is her tongue blue?
So her tongue is blue to help protect her. We talked a little bit about some of those bright colors being warning signs in other animals, like the poison dart frog. So if animals eat those bright colors, then they could get sick. And we have bright colored warnings as well. We have bright red stop signs that tell us we need to stop at intersections. We have bright orange construction stuff that tells us to kind of be aware that there could be some dangers happening around there for us or for the construction workers. Caution signs, bright yellow, all kinds of bright colors warn us and let us know things, and it works the same in the animal world. They just don't paint them. That's just how they naturally are.
Christina would like to know if she is warm or cold-blooded.
So she is cold-blooded, and cold-blooded is a little bit of a kind of a misnomer. I've talked about it in the past. Her blood's not cold. Her blood is just the temperature of whatever's around her. She soaks in kind of the environment's temperature. So if it's super hot outside, she's warm. And the only way for her to cool down is to find somewhere shady, maybe digging under the dirt or under the leaves where it's a little wet. If it gets too cold, then she just has to find somewhere nice and toasty to warm up. So all reptiles, like snakes, turtles, lizards, they have to soak in that sunlight. So that's why you see those animals basking in the sun, because they're trying to warm themselves up. And when those turtles in the pond get too warm, they'll just hop off their logs and swim in the water until they're cool enough to hop out and bask again.
Going back to the tail, Aaron would like to know, how long does it take to regrow?
So it all depends on how much they can eat. If they don't have a lot of food, their body can't spare a lot of those extra nutrients. Luckily for them, the forest always has some rotten stuff, so they can usually find food pretty easily. And it can take probably about 3 months to start to grow back. And they can lose their tail a couple times, but every time it grows back, it's going to be a little smaller. So it's not a trick that they want to do very often, because it is still stressful. If they're growing their tail back and something else starts chasing them, they don't have that fallback, that safety net. So they don't like doing it. I've never seen a lizard do it, thankfully. But it can take up to a couple months to grow it back enough to function again.
Mallory would like to know what she likes to do for fun.
What does she do for fun? Sleep. A lot of lizards can be pretty lazy. She does like to sleep. She always likes to eat. But it's a lot of soaking in that heat. If I see her, she's sleeping in heat. Those are really the things that she does. She doesn't go out of her way to play with toys and balls and things like that. She kind of just lounges around.
Nick would like to know if she is single or does she have a mate?
So she lives by herself at the zoo. We do have another blue-tongued skink named Marley. Marley is, gotta do some math, about 18 years old. And so Marcy here is only about 6. And so they can live for quite a while. They can live into their 20s. But both of them live by themselves, and they're perfectly happy with that. They don't socialize a whole lot. They don't really do a lot to raise their babies. They kind of just do what they want when they want to.
And what about their eggs? Do they lay eggs?
So another super cool thing, I've said super cool way too many times, but they're just super cool. Reptiles lay eggs, snakes lay eggs, turtle lay eggs. We see a lot about sea turtle nests and some of the problems that happen with sea turtle nests. Blue-tongued skinks don't have those problems with their egg nests because there's something called ovoviviparous, which is a big long word that means they do lay eggs, but they also kind of have live babies like cats, dogs, humans. And how it works is they have their eggs, but they just keep them inside so they don't have to worry about a nest getting ruined or sitting on them like a bird does or really taking care of anything. They just keep the eggs inside until they hatch, and then they're kind of live born out and they're ready to roll. That's why they don't have to spend a lot of time raising them, because those babies come out ready to go out and do skink things in the world like they were born to do. So they just have a super kind of unique egg laying process.
Beth would like to know, will she get any bigger?
So she might get a touch bigger. I've seen skinks bigger than her. Some different subspecies of blue-tongued skinks can get a little bit bigger. She isn't growing super fast. Our 18-year-old is about the same size as she is, so they're not gonna get much bigger. She might fill out a little bit more, but everybody kind of fills out a little more when they get older. But she's really probably not gonna get much bigger.
Haley would like to know, how long has she been at the zoo?
She's been at the zoo longer than I have. She came to the zoo a good handful of years ago, and she came as a pet. Someone had her as a pet and then decided that she wasn't a good pet for them. Whether that be because she doesn't play fetch, she doesn't sit and watch TV on the couch with you, she just kind of sits around and does whatever she wants, whenever she wants, wherever she wants to. So she ended up coming to the zoo where we expect her to be a lizard, and that's exactly what she is. And so she gets to do all the things she wants to do here, but she's been at the zoo for a few years now.
Nick would like to know, is it possible to crossbreed her with another lizard, such as an iguana?
I would say probably not. I don't know a whole lot about my lizard genetics. Genetics was a class in college that just didn't stick with me very well. But I would guess not. They're very, very different lizards. And not to mention they're in very different parts of the world. So I don't think that it would physically be possible, and I don't think that it would work out in the end either way.
Colleen would like to know, does she bite?
So anything with a mouth can bite. We do our best to watch animals to make sure that they're not aggravated and going to bite us. I've never had any issues with her. She is very, very sweet. She's very, very calm. Like I said a long time ago, she doesn't really have much for teeth, eating those rotten foods and those bugs and stuff. Doesn't take a lot for teeth, but she does have a pretty hard mouth, so it is a pretty substantial pinch. It certainly doesn't feel good, but I've never had a problem with her biting.
Beth would like to know, can she move any faster than she is currently moving?
Not much. She can move a little bit faster. Her top speed is not very fast. I can outwalk her any day, anywhere, anytime, any place. So she's not super fast, but she doesn't really need to be.
And does she make a good pet?
So it all kind of depends on what you think a good pet is. If you want a pet that you don't have to take on walks, you don't have to take lizards on walks. If you want a pet that's going to sit on the couch and watch TV with you, maybe get a cat or a dog. She's not going to do that. But she also does require a lot of special lights because she doesn't control her body temperature like a cat or a dog would. So you have to have special lights, special humidity, a lot of those kind of special things that are particular to her. Not to mention, she eats bugs. So if you have one, you have to keep food for her. Everybody needs to eat, and that means you have to keep bugs in your house. And most of the time, people try to keep bugs out of their house. So I don't know that she would be a great pet. There are some lizards that are good kind of beginner lizards and are a little simpler than blue-tongued skinks are, but people have them as pets very successfully. It just kind of depends on what you look for a pet.
Just got a couple more questions for you. So Beth would like to know, does she shed her skin?
So she does shed. All reptiles will shed their skin, but only snakes do it like we think. A snake is pretty simple. They just are one long body that skin can just kind of slide off of. She's got joints and arms and different parts that make it so you can't just pull the whole thing off. So she does shed. It's just in fractions and segments. So she'll shed, maybe right here 1 week and then maybe down here a little later. So she does shed. It's just not one big giant smooth process like it is with snakes.
One more question for you, Jared. Haley would like to know, what is her favorite treat to eat?
Oh, I don't know. What is her favorite treat to eat? You spend a lot of time with her.
I do spend a lot of time with her. So some of her favorite treats are going to be superworms, crickets, and mealworms.
Yeah, it's the bugs. It's always the bugs. Animals love bugs. Even if they don't eat bugs, I've seen my cat chase bugs because everybody loves bugs. Do we have any more questions, Matt?
Looks like we squeezed one more in. Colleen would like to know, how long do they live with their offspring?
Their offspring pretty much come out guns a-blazing, ready to go out in the world. They don't do much to really raise them. They're pretty self-sufficient. The easiest kind of reptile life cycle that we know is the sea turtle because they get so much publicity. Sea turtle babies hatch out of their eggs, and it's good luck to them. Fingers crossed they get to the ocean. So the blue-tongued skinks are similar, but they have that leg up because they don't have to have that nest of eggs first. The babies are just ready to do what they got to do. And there's not as much exposed space in a forest as there is on a beach. So I think that about wraps us up for time today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to check in again on Thursday for the education station at 10:45. It's going to be super great. Be sure to tune in all week long. We've got different things. Keep an eye on the zoo's Facebook page, our social media, because there's always new exciting stuff. Even when the zoo is closed, we're still doing all kinds of crafts, all kinds of activities, and posting lots of awesome pictures. So keep your eye on our Facebook, and thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you.